Ahead presidential primary elections, All Progressives Congress photos its successors for indirect mode. And as 2023 polls gather momentum, present administration in Ondo State warns civil servants to stay off partisan politics. Ondo State House of Assembly reiterates government's zero tolerance for indiscipline in public schools. And from the foreign scene, pressures mount on the United Kingdom Prime Minister Boris Johnson to resign or COVID-19 rules defiance. Good evening. Welcome to the news tonight. My name is Timile Faladi. The All Progressives Congress APC will choose its presidential candidates through an indirect primary election. The decision was reached at the party's 11th National Executive Committee meeting held at the Transcorp Hotel in Abuja and made public by the party's National Publicity Secretary Felix Moka. APC pegged its presidential nomination and expression of interest forms at 100 million naira. The nomination form would go for 70 million naira, while expression of interest form would go for 30 million naira. Also, President Muhammadu Buhari and other leaders of the party transmitted their powers to the National Working Committee of the party to make decisions for a period of 90 days. Those who will be contesting the APC presidential primary are Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, former Lagos Governor Bola Tinubu, Minister of Transportation Rotimi Amechi, among others. Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress says it would begin selling nomination and expression of interest forms for various electoral offices on Saturday, April 23, 2022. The party's National Publicity Secretary, Felix Moka, disclosed this shortly after the 11th National Executive Committee meeting in Abuja today. According to Moka, the sale of firms will run from April 23rd till May 6, 2022. In the meantime, the national chairman of the APC says the National Working Committee will begin the process of uniting aggrieved members. Adamu encouraged members to uphold exemplary behaviors, saying the party's intrinsic problem is the crisis fueled by ego. He noted that various ego within the party has widened the gap between the former and serving governors, and it poses a risk of causing a divide in the party and allowing members to suffer. The national chairman called for a discontinuation of the present rancor within the party because, according to him, there is no reason for the competition. Adam also asked the serving governors to work harmoniously and with mutual respect with the former governors, some of whom are not senators, to resolve many of the inherent challenges. The new watchword, he says, should be APC first. He promised that the NWC will deliver, particularly with a united front, noting that contrary to predictions of dissolution, the party has emerged stronger. He further urged members to desist from use of the media to settle grievances, but resort to the constitutional provisions of the party for dispute resolution. Divergent reactions have continued to trail the recent submission of elder statesman Afe Babalola calling for the suspension of the 2023 general election, formation of an interim government after the tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari, and the birth of a new constitution. On one side of the divide are those who questioned the integrity of former presidents who the legal icon suggested should be part of the interim government, as well as a constitutional provision that can make the submission see the light of the day. Sahid Aribisala reports that Afe Babalola got support from some Nigerians who noted that recycling current leaders under the constitution will continue to be to the detriment of the country's development. The report.
Elder statesman and senior advocate of Nigeria, Afe Babalola, recently held a press briefing where he canvassed the need for the suspension of the 2023 general election. Premising his decision on the need to chart a new course for Nigeria, the legal icon also suggested that an interim government comprising former presidents and vice presidents, selected governors, representatives of prominent associations, among others, be put in place for 6 months. He also craved a new-look People's Constitution, which should make provision for part-time legislators and non-executive presidents. The submission of the legal luminary has not gone without rousing the rabble, setting the tone for discourse and pitching Nigerians to either support or voice disagreement to the suggestion.
For me, I think I buy a little of that he has said, because if one sees right now, why and how have we found ourselves in this position? The Constitution is part of it, the implementation of the Constitutions, the people that implement the Constitutions. We're just cycling, we're just moving around the same circle. There's no improvement if we want to be sincere with ourselves. The standard of living in terms of the people, infrastructures, and so on and so forth. Insecurity and the architecture has become a problem in this country. Economy is in doldrums, and so on and so forth.
How many years is the age of Nigeria now? Where have we gone to that you want to beckon on their experience and experience of the same people that have failed us? If you ask me, and the power is in my hand, anyone that have surfaced in government before should not in any way come up, and they should not be opinion leaders in any way.
But the legal practitioner, Biodun Fashakin, believes the elder statesman means well for Nigeria, and the calls seem the perfect solution to all of the country's problems.
Let all of us come together to solve these problems, these challenges that are staring us in the face. Then thereafter, we can attempt to reorganize the system. Do you understand? Which is like praying all of us for a total overhaul of the system. Let's stop recycling the system. This system cannot, do you understand, cannot change itself. This system, there is no way this system can produce what you and me want.
Describing Afe Babalola's call as complicated, Professor Olu Aderomo and legal practitioner Adetunji Osho noted that making the current 1999 constitution workable should top priority.
And I believe strongly that the elections should go on, because that will create additional problems. People will take advantage of the caretaker committee. Then we will show those who are going to constitute the caretaker committee. All kinds of partisanship may be there. The interim government was manipulated and thrown out and overthrown. Senator was there, he was kicked out.
There is no perfect constitution anywhere in the world. After all, the one we are operating was copied from somewhere. And those ones are not saying that let us throw our constitution. They improve on it. So let us also make the constitution we have workable.
According to some observers, there are unseen elements who have always had a say on who rules Nigeria since 1999. According to these observers, Afe Babalola is close to them and he is respected by all. Could there be any merit in his call, or perhaps it's a script waiting to be acted? Sahid Aribisala, OSRC News.
Now to education matters. Ondo State House of Assembly has vowed to resist any move to turn public schools into havens for indisciplined teachers. The chairman, House Committee on Education, Science and Technology, Mr. Tuluwani Borokini, during a visit to the Education Ministry in Akure, said the sector, as a bedrock of development, cannot be entrusted to wayward molders. House of Assembly correspondent Omoshiliola Adesoye Ajayi now reports.
The need to restore core moral values to the education sector in Ondo State informed the visit of members of the Ondo State House of Assembly Committee on Education, Science and Technology to the headquarters of Ministry of Education in Akure. The permanent secretary in the ministry, Mrs. Lola Amuda, who played host to the visitors, outlined some of the measures taken by the ministry to ensure government's guidelines in the establishment of private schools are strictly followed.
Because of the current trend in the country, we emphasize the need for them to step up their security of their lives and properties in their various schools.
She also appreciated the lawmakers for their support and assured them of the continued commitment of ministry staff to consolidate the enviable standards in education in the state.
We have not left any stone unturned in the discharge of our duties, but we know that there are some areas whereby the society is emerging, and there is need for us to review some of our policies in those areas, and there's also the need for us to step up our modalities of our operation. That we have been trying to do, and we will continue to do.
The chairman of the committee, Mr. Tuluwani Borokini, decried the level of indiscipline among teachers and charged the quality assurance team of the ministry to redouble their efforts in monitoring schools' activities to uphold academic and core moral values.
We must ensure that if discipline must come to students, it must start with teachers. If you want your students not to come late, then you should meet their teachers in school.
Mr. Borokini, who promised that the House will always support the career progression of the staff, urged school administrators and other stakeholders to ensure that government's visions in the education sector are not jeopardized.
I am very confident of the leadership of Arakuri Oduayo Akeredolu that he will promote everyone in due course. So whoever is behind that is not doing it in the interest of the government of Ondo State.
Other lawmakers harped on the need for the ministry to closely monitor schools to curb indiscipline, which could truncate government's efforts in the all-important sector. Omoshiliola Adesoya Ajayi, Osrc News.
You're still watching Osrc News at 7. We'll take a break now. Do stay with us.
After a fruitful Ramadan day, replenish your body with the right nutrients. Make this your best Ramadan yet. Ramadan Kareem from Hollandia Dairy and Chivita Fruit Juice.
My son, calm down now. Why did you sweat like Amrova?
My uncle no go buy it. Uncle! What's up? Uncle, meet Andy. He has come to ask for my hand in marriage.
Good morning and good afternoon, sir. What about good night? Have you seen a movie? What nonsense!
Son, you are in control.
No, sir. It's my parents in the village. I'm doing a video call since they can't be here.
Glow Brexit Plus is here. Existing Glow customers will get 400% bonus on every recharge and 100 MB data bonus on first recharge of the month. New Glow customers will get 1,000 Naira welcome bonus. To activate, buy a new Glow SIM today or dial *777# for existing Glow customers.
You're welcome back. You can watch us live on our website www.osrc.ng or follow us on Facebook, Osrc TV Ondo, and on YouTube you can subscribe to our channel, Osrc TV Ondo. The National Common Entrance Examination (NCEE) for admissions into federal unity colleges has been postponed. The exam, which was scheduled to hold for 23rd April 2022, is now scheduled to hold for May 7. The postponement was due to the low registration of candidates and the new dates announced, giving more parents and guardians the opportunity to register their words for the examination. In a statement by the head of Information and Public Relations Division, Aziz Sani, NECO enjoined candidates, parents, guidance, and relevant stakeholders to take note of the new date for the examination, adding that registration of candidates will continue till the new date of the examination. Still on education matters, the Academic Staff Union of Universities (ASU) has accused the federal government of failing to prioritize the development of university education in the country. ASU President Professor Emmanuel Osrc decried the situation where the government is focusing its attention on fuel subsidy rather than showing interest in revamping the nation's universities. More than 2 months since lecturers' down tools, the ASU president alleged that the government has been insensitive to the union's demands. Osrc said the government has refused to make any definite move to address the demands of the lecturers since the strike, which crippled activities across public universities, began in February. As activities towards the 2023 elections gather momentum, civil servants have been warned to avoid making their political affiliations known, as it runs contrary to public service rules. The Commissioner for Regional Integration and Diaspora Relations, Mrs. Bamidele Olateju, spoke at the Secretaries Forum monthly meeting held in Akure.
The theme for this month's meeting is Ethics and Ethical Behavior in Civil Service. The lecture was to remind civil servants about their roles in the system. Commissioner for Regional Integration and Diaspora Relations, Bamidele Olateju, said, "It is inappropriate to adorn political parties' emblems to government offices." Mrs. Olateju explained that the act is simply unacceptable. She also harped the civil servants' need to improve their knowledge base through updating and personal investment in learning. Mrs. Olateju advised accounting officers to bring out their subordinates on how to take charge of ministries, departments, and agencies in future. The head of service, Pastor Adeniran Adeyemo, said Yoruba culture has ethics to cover all areas of life, from how to behave, talk and deal, relate with others, as well as treat issues. Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget, and Chairman, Permanent Secretaries Forum, Chief Bumialade, said the party holds on a monthly basis to remind accounting officers of their roles. Some of the permanent secretaries said the lecture helped in reminding them about the reality of modern times.
Top police personnel have been ordered to boost security in and around schools, colleges, and student-based communities across the country. According to the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, the directive is important to ensure the protection of schools and colleges, particularly boarding schools, tertiary institutions, and the campuses in areas prone to security breaches. Baba specifically asked all State Commissioner of Police, CPS, tactical commanders, as well as the supervising assistant inspectors general to explore all available options and think outside the box to secure the schools. The IGP equally directed directives operatives of the 1st Criminal Investigations Department and the Force Intelligence Bureau to ensure sustained surveillance and intelligence gathering activities within various schools' environments, while the police air wing has been directed to extend its aerial patrols to the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. He assured Nigerians that all hands would be on deck to ensure a safe environment for all pupils and students in the various schools and colleges of learning within the country. In the meantime, the Nigerian Air Force NAF has confirmed the death of 2 officers in the crash involving one of its trainer aircraft in Kaduna State. NAF Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Edward Gapquet, in a statement, identified the officers as Flight Lieutenant Abubakar Akali and Flight Lieutenant Elijah Karatu. The NAF spokesman said the Air Force would carry out a thorough investigation of the cause of the crash of a Super Mustang trainer aircraft. He said the Air Marshal has constituted an accident investigation board to determine the immediate and remote causes of the crash. Today marks 5 years since Russia's ban of Jehovah's Witnesses. The persecution is seeing about 400 of the witnesses' legal entities, including houses of worship, shut down, while more than 1,740 homes have been raided. According to a statement by Jehovah's Witnesses spokesman Gil Adekombi, despite a persistent international outcry from human rights bodies, Russia has imprisoned over 320 witnesses, with over 80 still in custody, while over 600 Jehovah's Witnesses, including 40 men and women over the age of 70, have been charged criminally. The statement said contrary to Russian government's claim that individual witnesses would be free to practice their faith after liquidating the legal entities of Jehovah's Witnesses, it has been inconsistent with its actions. Former British ambassador to Russia, Andrew Wood, had earlier said the arrests, ill treatment, and confinement of Jehovah's Witnesses are a breach of elementary human rights, together with the infringement of the freedom of all souls to seek the path to the truths of religion, adding that the targeting of particularly vulnerable people of whatever gender or age adds to the injustice. Now to the foreign scene. The UK Prime Minister has praised the House of Commons for the first time since receiving a fine from the Metropolitan Police. Boris Johnson repeated his apology for breaking COVID lockdown rules, but for those on the opposite benches and his own, the apology was not enough. All three opposition leaders have called on the Prime Minister to resign. Akitunde Akishemola reports.
The Prime Minister's hero watching over his successors, a national symbol of courage in wartime which Boris Johnson wants to emulate, but also prove you can change Prime Minister in conflict.
Did you lie to Parliament, Prime Minister?
Back on the agenda after Boris Johnson became the first inhabitant of number 10 to be fined for law breaking.
I take this opportunity on the first available sitting day to repeat my wholehearted apology to the House.
But after the apology came the excuses.
It did not occur to me then or subsequently that a gathering in the Cabinet room just before a vital meeting on COVID strategy could amount to a breach of the rules.
Not knowing key to his defense, he didn't mislead Parliament. Also key is what is going on in Ukraine.
I feel an even greater sense of obligation to deliver on the priorities of the British people and to respond in the best traditions of our country to Putin's barbaric onslaught against Ukraine.
The Labour leader having none of it.
As the latest mealy-mouthed apology stumbles out of one side of his mouth, a new set of deflections and distortions pour from the other. But the damage is already done. The public have made up their mind. They don't believe a word the Prime Minister says. They know what he is.
More stories asking supportive questions.
Could I ask the Prime Minister, did you deliberately mislead the House at the dispatch box?
No, Mr. Speaker.
But one former chief whip and leadership contender demands Boris Johnson quits immediately.
I regret to say that we have a Prime Minister who broke the laws that he told the country they had to follow, hasn't been straightforward about it, and is now going to ask the decent men and women on these benches to defend what I think is indefensible. I'm very sorry to have to say this, but I no longer think he is worthy of the great office that he holds.
Do you think Boris Johnson lied to Parliament?
I don't think he's been straight with Parliament, no. And I said that in my letter to Sir Graham Brady. I think it's difficult to draw any other conclusion.
A humble apology, but that is not enough to shut this issue down. Labour is calling a vote tomorrow over whether the Prime Minister lied to Parliament. Top official Sue Gray has done a report that Tories will really turn their mind to whether they want to keep Boris Johnson as their Prime Minister. Who to keep in the corridors of power and who to put on Parliament's backbenches? That's the question for MPs But Winston Churchill believed, you never give in, you never yield to force. Can Boris Johnson emulate this? Akintunde Akinsebola for Osrc News.
And now to sports. Following the return of Sunshine Stars to Akure, the Deputy Governor of Ondo State and Chairman of Ondo State Football Agency, its Farm Management Committee, Lucky Ayedatiwa, has met with football stakeholders to gather support for the club. Ayedatiwa, who on Monday announced the all-clear from the league management company for Sunshine Stars to return home, took turn to meet with members of the supporters club, Ondo FA executives and state referees at the Cocoa Conference Hall of the Governor's Office to extract support from on home soil. The state FA executives, under the leadership of Otumba Dele Ajayi, assured the acting governor of the full cooperation for Sunshine Stars, seeking to improve synergy with OTFA in a bid to achieve grassroots and all-round football development in Ondo State. Spokesman of Stadium Boys, Robert Tolu, posited that Sunshine Stars are adored within the group, assuring that the group will be orderly and willing to point out anyone found creating unrest at the stadium. Ayedatiwa rounded up the day's deliberations by meeting with the state referees under the chairmanship of Mr. Fidelis Fabido in his office, while a separate session for the members of the Sports Writers Association and Sports Council leadership was also held. Before we go tonight, let's take another look at the major stories. The All Progressives Congress has adopted indirect mode for the conduct of its presidential primary elections. And ahead 2023 general polls, civil servants in Ondo State have been urged not to dabble in partisan politics. Ondo State House of Assembly has charged school administrators to entrench discipline. And from the foreign scene, we told you that the United Kingdom Prime Minister Boris Johnson is under intense pressure to leave office for undermining COVID-19 health protocols. That's the news. Thank you for watching. Good night.